So I've always loved Lego, especially as an adult. Because when I was a kid, my parents really couldn't afford them. So I had the generic ones. So of course, as an adult, it's fun for me to pick up a set here and there. And recently, there's a couple of very expensive sets that I've had my eye on. And what I typically do if it's like kind of an expensive set is I'll go check out, there's a YouTuber named Jang. I believe his main channel is Jang Bricks. He has a bunch of different channels. Some of them dedicated to building Legos, some of them dedicated to reviewing Legos. And the ones I'll watch are the ones where he's actually reviewing a Lego set. And what happens on YouTube when you watch one video about a certain subject? You get recommended a ton more videos. And if you watch another one, you get recommended even more. So something I started to notice with Lego YouTube, which is something that applies to Funko Pops as well, and all collectibles really. And this video isn't just about Lego. This is what got me down this rabbit hole. But what I started to notice is that on Lego YouTube, half of the channels are adult fans of Lego, like Jang. And the other half seem to be Lego investing channels. Tell you all the tips and tricks, tell you what sets to buy, tell you what's gonna retire. Basically, they're dedicated to Lego investing, which is great, right? If you don't know anything about Lego investing, or collectibles really. Now before you say, hey, you do that too, didn't you make videos telling people what Funko Pops they should buy now because they're gonna blow up in the future? Yes, I did. And I actually don't make videos like that anymore. And since I'm guilty of this myself, this video isn't to attack other YouTubers that give you suggestions in what to invest in. For example, Pop Savage is one of my favorite pop YouTubers. I think his advice is very good. I think he's a very intelligent young dude. So this isn't an attack on him or anybody else that does this kind of content. It's actually some of the more interesting Funko Pop content there is, for me anyway. That said, I would love to hear all of Pop Savage's thoughts on this over a cup of coffee in private, for my own benefit. And therein lies the point of this video in what I feel is a social media collectibles investing paradox. So I fire up YouTube this morning and I get suggested a video along the lines of what happened to X Lego series? Why isn't it as profitable as it once was? And a lot of the stuff they covered made sense. You know, certain sets being overhoarded, overproduced, staying on the market longer than they had before. But they didn't really talk about one of the main reasons I think why. And they even commented, and I'm not going to say which YouTuber it is because unfortunately on the internet, nobody's mature enough to like not go harass people or whatever, right? And I actually think this YouTuber is pretty bright as well. Most of these investment channels know their stuff. But the comment I left was along the lines of, you know, the problem with Lego investing nowadays is that there are a ton of YouTubers telling a bunch of new people that don't really know what they're doing what sets to hoard in abundance to try to resell later. But collecting plastic, you say, what's wrong with that? Well, nothing's wrong with that. But I think what happens when you do that, and it's a lot of investment. I was recommended so many different investment channels, all recommending the exact same Lego sets for people to buy as an investment, that it would be impossible to watch them all. And when you aggregate all the views that each one of these videos get, recommending the same set for people to buy, you're getting into the millions. Now, why is this a problem? For Lego, it isn't. For the actual consumer, kind of isn't either. It's more of a problem for the Lego investors because you're kind of giving up the gig. It reminds me of, in the late 90s, there used to be a program called The Masked Magician. And what he would do is go on TV wearing a mask, and he'd let everybody know how all these magicians would pull off their greatest tricks. And once you figure out exactly how they do most of these magic tricks, they're really pretty simple. Genius, but simple and very unimpressive. And in the 90s, it was very common and very popular, really, to have these magician specials. And you actually had a lot of very famous magicians. You don't now, though. And I feel like The Masked Magician was the beginning of the end for that, because he gave up the gig. What these Lego investment channels are basically doing is creating competition for themselves. They suggest a certain set that historically maybe should be retiring by now, and then a bunch of people go and buy it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sets at a time. And we're talking thousands of people because these videos are reaching millions of people. And they all make it sound like it's easy peasy. You're sitting on your ass doing nothing, making money, flipping these sets of suckers. So easy. So of course people are gonna try it, especially if it sounds easy. So the more and more people that hoard the same set that you're hoarding, the more competition you create. The more people that don't know what they're doing get impatient and think that collectible investing is like something that you hold on to for 2 months. And then when it doesn't go to the moon, they panic, or the rent's coming up because they overinvested. And now they're selling those sets off, sometimes at a loss, or at a very, very slim margin where it's all just kind of a waste of time and they're making money for eBay and Lego and Walmart or wherever they bought the set. Because I see it all the time. I mean, you guys are Funko Pop collectors. How often do you go on eBay and you see a brand new pop and it's priced $2 above retail plus, $5 or $6 shipping? By the time that person gets a box, pays for the shipping, pays the fees to eBay, takes into account their time, their gas, everything. And that's if they don't get a return, right? And that little $2 profit they thought they were going to make, all of a sudden they're like in a 50-cent hole. You get one return, and now what? They're going to sell 20 pops to make that up? It's because they don't know what they're doing. Or maybe they stole those pops and they're making a lot of profit then, okay? Or they could be, people that are wholesalers and just selling through eBay. But a lot of them aren't, and you can tell. A wholesaler isn't going to have 4 or 5 pops in their store with a quantity of like 2 each, right? So what I think these Lego investors are doing is inviting a lot of people like this that really can afford to, don't know to, or don't realize that they have to wait until the price actually goes up, until there's actual demand. But with so many people doing the same thing, you're always going to have some people selling early. Of course, they're going to undercut each other to the point of where it used to be 200, 300% profits on, like, say, a $50 set could easily go up to $150, $200. Now that set's going up to $70 2 years after it's retired. Maybe $100, which is, sounds great, right? $50 set, selling for $100. Remember the shipping, remember the fees, remember all the time it took you to keep that set nice and mint. Because yeah, even in Lego, people care about the boxes. But I believe this all happens because you have all these investing channels giving up the gig to people that really don't know what to do with this information. And that's why when I used to make my videos on this, I used to frame it like, look, I believe this pop is not going to be produced a lot. I don't see it being too popular. It's just a common. But pick it up now because it's going to go away on you. And you really don't want to go paying $30 for this pop when you can just get it now. And it honestly got me thinking, like, who am I making these videos for? I think I'm making them for collectors. But a collector would kind of already know this probably. And if they really wanted a certain character, they would have already bought it when it's at $12. They wouldn't need to be told. So I think I'm just wising up flippers. Or maybe even possibly stagnating the price on some of these pops. Yeah, I don't have a huge channel, but those videos were getting 4,000 to 6,000 views each. And in the grand scheme of a pop, that's kind of a lot of people because there's a lot of pops that aren't getting much more than 20,000, 30,000 produced, if that. So what am I really doing here? Like, who's benefiting? Like, nobody really. I mean, these Lego investors are basically just creating competition. They're prolonging the time that something is going to go up in value. And yes, Lego is a little different than most collectibles because Lego can sometimes be more valuable, opened up, and pieced out. Funko Pops, most other collectibles, really any other collectible that I can think of, isn't really like that. Except for, I guess, maybe a box break or something like that. Like a trading card box break. Sometimes they're more valuable if you actually open them up. But that's different. You gotta imagine that as somebody recommending a specific card, once it's already pieced out. Lego is unique like that. There's an actual economy around the bricks. But trust me, that's for professionals to do. You really don't want to get into that unless you really know what you're doing. Maybe I'm wrong. I just honestly don't see the benefit for anybody for this information to just be given away for free like that to everybody in the world. Because what a lot of these investors are doing is their years, sometimes decades of experience with collectibles, specifically the ones they're experts in. Some guys are experts in Lego, some guys are experts in Pops, comic books, Pokemon cards, etc. But the years and decades of learning that specific collectible, what to look for in terms of rarity, desirability, condition, when to buy, how to store, how to sell, potential pitfalls, everything involved takes years and years and years to learn. And it's even harder to apply that knowledge effectively without all these other variables, without all these other people in there that really don't know what they're doing. And they think that waiting till something's, 10 to 15% above retail is the right time to sell. Basically just prolonging the retail lifespan of any given collectible. It just creates a paradox. By telling masses of people what to hoard and keep off of store shelves, it makes that particular collectible sell out faster. It makes Lego go, maybe we won't retire that one because look how fast it's selling out. The demand is still there because guess who's not getting it? The consumer. Well, not getting it to the degree that they would be getting it if there wasn't so many people hoarding the same sets. Lego sets used to last 2 years on the market. That's it. The game was easy. But now, Lego sets are lasting 4 years, 5 years. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that bought, like for example, that big, huge, giant, I think it's like $700 Millennium Falcon. Because that's a no-brainer. 2 years have gone by. Oh, let me get that one. It's probably going to retire, right? Not really. It's been around for quite a while. I know a lot of people hoarded that first Volkswagen bus they put out. I believe that thing lasted like 8 years because people kept buying it. Now, if these investment channels didn't exist, would this not happen? I don't know. But I do see it as them shooting themselves in the foot. That's another thing I said in my comment. It's like, I believe the problem is, Lego investors telling way too many new people that don't know what they're doing what to invest in, what to hoard, and you guys are shooting yourselves in the foot. And I noticed he hearted everybody else's comment but mine got the most likes and is a top comment. So I feel like I'm not the only person that notices this. I'm sure all the people that have been Lego investing for like decades wish these channels would just shut up. It's honestly, I see it as like the masked magician type of situation. Like when the masked magician was out there telling the public, the secrets of magicians, people wanted this guy like dead. Guy got like death threats. He got ostracized from every magician club and whatever. This dude was public enemy number one because he's just giving out information that these magicians have learned over decades of studying magic. So when these YouTubers start wondering like, gee man, why is this particular line only giving me a 70% profit when it used to give me 300? And then they go on to tell everybody exactly what to do. I feel like it's pretty obvious. And maybe because I'm not like a super, I'm literally not as invested in Lego. Maybe I'm looking at it from an outsider's point of view and it's very obvious to me. But not while you're, busy in that YouTube grind, right? Thinking of what to make a video of. And it's like this with most of these collectible furus, right? Furu is like a guru, like a financial guru, right? Typically you would call that, like say on Twitter, the guys that have the finance Twitter, the guys that have accounts that specifically tell you what stocks to buy because they're going to go to the moon. Well, honestly, the best strategy with those guys is to just short everything they recommend to people. Because they go and tell people, buy this certain stock, it's going to go to the moon, it's going to make you rich. Put $1,000 in it, and by the end of the week, that'll double, dog. So what happens is all these people jump on, right, that really don't know what they're doing, start to get a little nervous after a couple of days because it went down 1% or whatever. They start to sell. Everybody else start to sell. The stock crashes. So if you shorted it, now you actually made some money. Of course, it's not to that degree with collectibles because collectibles are a lot slower, right? You can't just dump all your collectibles with the click of a mouse. But it's very similar. And honestly, in Funko Pops, it's not to the degree of like, the stock market, Legos, or comic books. Comic books and Lego and stocks, tons and tons and tons and tons of people telling you what to invest in, what to buy, how to go to the moon with comic books and Lego. Not quite there with Funko Pops. But just imagine if there was, 200-300 channels all telling you to buy a specific pop because this is the one. This is the one that's gonna, we're gonna break our chains and be free with this pop. Well, all that's gonna happen is it's gonna sell out and all these people are gonna hoard it and Funko's gonna make more because it's selling out and you're literally diluting, they're literally diluting the market And the only people holding these are people that want to sell them. And you're not going to get all these people to be able to coordinate and go, look, we're not selling it for any less than $50. That's not going to happen. Someone's going to list it for 50. Another guy's going to list it for 49. Another guy's going to list it for 48. And on and on and on. Of course, Lego is pretty solid, right? Like, Lego's been around for a long time. Obviously, it's not a fad. And 70% or 100% return is nothing to scoff at. But holding for 5 years to get that, I don't know. And I think the more and more channels that are telling people all the tricks of the reselling game, the lower that return on investment is going to be, the longer the hold time is going to be, and the less valuable your Lego portfolio is going to eventually become. Like the old saying, you know, loose lips sink ships, even Lego pirate ships.